hearing you have a cancer diagnosis is an awful moment in time, right? Everything changes in that instant. Hearing I had the BRCA mutation a few months later was like a grief like no other, because I did immediately think of my children.
I feel emotional.
Sorry.
I was sat in the chemo chair when I got the call to tell me I had BRCA. So I was kind of devastated because I've already had surgery. I was on countdown to finishing my treatment. And then not only did I have to have, the surgery, but then it affects your whole family.
I have so much less anxiety in life because I faced my biggest fear.
Yeah.
Like, breast cancer kept me small for so long because I was so scared of it. I didn't think I'd get it at 37, but I was so scared of it. And I know I've got the inner strength to get through that.
Welcome to Everything Changed podcast with me, Rosie Fawahimi. Today's guest is Carly Moosah. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I wanted to bring Carly onto the podcast so we could discuss her diagnosis and the BRCA gene. I wanted to start with your sliding door moment.
As a bit of background, in terms of breast cancer in my family, my mum had breast cancer and died from secondary breast cancer when she was 59 and I was 27. I never met her mum because her mum died from secondary breast cancer before she had any children, my mum. So this breast cancer was always a part of life in a way. It was always an awareness that I had about it from quite a young age. So when my mum died from secondary breast cancer, I was very aware of the signs and symptoms already.
Okay. You were checking?
I was checking. I will never forget the time she showed me, her skin puckering, so I knew that was a thing. And then about 3 years, I would say, before my own diagnosis of breast cancer, one of my best friends and my husband were kind of talking about the BRCA gene mutation, which I guess I should say for anyone listening, stands for, I think it stands for breast cancer gene. We all have the genes, BRCA1 and BRCA2, but some of us have a mutation of that gene, which increases our chances of getting certain cancers. My dad is of Ashkenazi Jewish heritage.
Okay.
It's prevalent in the whole population, but there's a real heightened kind of statistical chance of having BRCA if you have that kind of heritage. So my friend and my husband were saying, go and get tested. Went along to the screening, a little bit, dare I say, cocky that I wouldn't have it because I thought I knew everything and I thought that it would be a lot younger if there was BRCA in the family. And that is exactly what they said to me. I went off that day thinking, great. Yeah. I've ticked a box. I've, made my husband and my best friend happy because I did go and talk about it. And no one thinks I need to get tested, so I don't need to get tested. Fast forward 2.5 years, and my older sister, who is my half sister on my dad's side, so we don't have the same family background with my mum, and her mum gets diagnosed with late stage ovarian cancer.
Okay.
She was 43 at the time. It was stage 4B.
Wow.
That is the most advanced form of ovarian cancer you can have. And, she started treatment immediately and she got tested for BRCA because of her age. And it came back positive for BRCA1. So I'll never forget her calling me. It was August. She'd been diagnosed in July, beginning of July. It was August. I was in Marbella walking along the promenade. And she said, I've got the G mutation. And I don't know, just like immediately I was like, oh, okay, it's in the family. There's every possibility I could have it. And I'm very much a person that did want to know. I know that some people maybe don't get tested necessarily, but for me, I really did want to know. And then in November, I found a swelling under my armpit.
I feel like that's crazy that they didn't test you with, having your mum was young. And how old was your grandmother?
So my mum was 54 when she was diagnosed, and my mum's mum, I think, was around 49, which is young, but it's not BRCA young. Yeah. However, within the UK now and the NHS, they will test you if you have one Jewish grandparent, if you are over the age of 18 in the UK. So therefore, with my history, having two Jewish grandparents, I would have been tested that day. I would have found out I carried the BRCA1 gene mutation. I would have spoken to all the people about preventative surgeries and probably had them, let's say. I don't know, but I would assume that I may have done. And more importantly is my older sister, and she wouldn't have got late stage ovarian cancer.
I think it's really important to spread awareness. I know when I shared on my socials, a lot of people with that Jewish ancestry are not even aware that they have a, higher risk.
And I think as well, if it is the man that's carrying the gene, like my dad.
And my dad.
If it's BRCA1, BRCA2 is different. I think there's heightened
risk for them.
For certain male cancers more. But for BRCA1, really it is, I think, a slight risk of them getting male breast cancer. But other than that, it's much more for the women that they're increased risk of getting ovarian and breast cancer. And therefore, it can be this silent ticking time bomb until it goes off in those who love. So I think it is so important to spread that awareness to men that they could carry it. It's not, it can come through like that.
Definitely. I think it actually shocked my dad. We only found out maybe 2 months ago that he carries BRCA. But what I said to him is, in a way, I wish this hadn't have happened to me, but the only good thing is that because of my age, they screened me for BRCA. And now my dad is aware that he's at high risk of certain cancers, and he's now under the Royal Marsden and is having extra screening because they said he's kind of at prime age at the moment of getting those cancers, prostate, pancreatic. And also my children are also going to be aware. Whereas if I hadn't have got it and my dad just got prostate or pancreatic cancer now, they probably wouldn't test for BRCA because of his age, which is crazy, really. It feels like it's something that should just be tested for.
I know. And imagine if it was all the people who are walking around not realising, like I was. I walked out of that clinic and I genuinely thought,
and when they tell you that you don't need to worry, that's what you want to hear.
Yes.
So obviously you just take that and run with it.
Yeah.
This episode is sponsored by Never Fully Dressed, a feel-good fashion brand with joyful clothing in sizes UK 6 to 28 to empower everybody. They have also got a collaboration with Porto and Bello, offering a wide range of accessible clothing, and £5 from each sale goes to Future Dreams House, a charity supporting those touched by breast cancer. You can find Never Fully Dressed online or at their flagship London and New York stores. You've obviously would have had, thoughts on this, but how do you feel about testing your own children for BRCA, and when do you think you will do that?
Oh gosh.
I know.
Okay, so you're probably like me. It's the thing that, hearing you have a cancer diagnosis is an awful moment in time, right? Everything changes in that instant. Hearing I had the BRCA gene mutation a few months later was like a grief like no other, because I did immediately think of my children.
I feel emotional.
Sorry. Who were 4 and 6 at the time. However, I think I am a real true believer in science. I'm a true believer in research and in knowledge. So those 3 things, and also I'm a true believer in being in the present moment. So right now, my kids are 9 and 12. It's not even on the cards.
No.
You can't test until I think you're 18 in this country. It is something that, in terms of a conversation, I feel is happening now with them.
Oh, really?
It's like, I think they're very aware of how much cancer is in the family, and they know my mum died of breast cancer. They know I had breast cancer. They know my sister, that their aunt has had a cancer diagnosis. It's there, and I think it starts to be a conversation about why is there so much cancer. So I want to have. I believe children know a lot more than we probably give them credit for as well a lot of the time. So I was very honest with them about my diagnosis the whole time. And I want to have that transparency and that honesty about BRCA too, but without scaring them, right? That because there's nothing that can be done at the minute. Again, it will be their decision.
It is funny how some people want to know, you know, when I was offered the BRCA test, I said yes straight away, and mine actually got lost. And then, so I didn't find out until 6 months, almost near the end of my chemo. And I was sat in the chemo chair when I got the call to tell me I had BRCA. So I was kind of devastated because I've already had surgery. I was on countdown to finishing my treatment. And then not only did I have to have, you know, the surgery, but then it affects your whole family, doesn't it? But I like to have all the knowledge, and, you know, it gives you the chance to make, you know, informed decisions.
I need to know everything.
Yeah,
as soon as I could find out the sexes of my children, I went for that. I spoil shows for myself. Like, I am not someone that couldn't.
But some people, I guess, are just so frightened.
And I completely understand that. And I have so much empathy for that as well, because I do co-host a BRCA support group.
I know.
Every month at Future Dreams House in London, if anyone's listening.
I feel like we should talk about that as well.
Yeah, so I think we'll get there. But, you know, we talk a lot in that group about the enormity. And there's people that have had cancer diagnosis and people that have found out and are thinking about the preventative route. And neither are easy. They are just, it is a weighty thing to know that you carry a mutation of, you know, of this sort.
Is.
There are huge decisions that so many young women and men have to make, and it's it's a big life-changing thing to find out about. But I do think these conversations and this awareness will hopefully give people that hope that even if they do find out, there's support, there's place, you know, people that can help you, hold you up and help you make the decisions. And there's so many options out there. You know, some people I know haven't had preventative surgeries, but they have screenings. You know, there's routes, right? Once you know.
And I think, like you said, with science and evolving science, it's most likely that my dad got it from my granddad, but he died in 1988. And I think that BRCA was only discovered in 1990. So now we know about the gene.
Yeah.
And I remember in my first conversation I had with the oncologist about me having BRCA, and they said that if my children do carry the gene, then their children will be born via IVF as an option, so that they can screen the embryos for the gene mutation, you know, to make sure that their children, it stops.
Yes.
Which is just amazing, isn't it?
Which I think is worth quickly explaining, that the BRCA gene mutation does pass through generation to generation, but there is a 50-50 chance. So both of us, our children may not have it from us, but they also might.
You and your sister both do.
Yes.
Me and my sister, I do. My sister doesn't. Okay. So it is that 50-50, isn't it? So I wanted to ask you, could you tell me about the treatment that you had for your breast cancer diagnosis?
So the day I was diagnosed, I got my diagnosis. It was a phone call. And I'll never forget, I was in Brent Cross Shopping Centre and I was told it was a small cancer, but that it was aggressive. Again, it goes back to, I thought I knew so much about breast cancer because of my mum.
Yeah.
But oh my goodness, did I not? And now I feel like I do know a lot about it. I think I could write a dissertation on it. So I had a similar breast cancer diagnosis to you, in that it was triple negative breast cancer, which means they don't know what feeds it. Obviously, we know it's likely that it was the BRCA that triggered the cancer in us. It's quite common for BRCA gene mutations
to be triple
negative, exactly. So what I learned very quickly was that it's an aggressive cancer, so it gets treated aggressively. The day I went along, I remember him saying it's going to look like chemotherapy, followed by a radical surgery. These were his words. And then we'll see, but potentially radiotherapy. What wasn't said at the time was about immunotherapy. I then got, from that, kind of told, met my oncologist. As you get a cancer diagnosis, you suddenly have a team of people that you would never even think, you know, you'd have in your life. But I met my oncologist, who's incredible and whose whole kind of speciality is triple negative breast cancer. So I felt very, very lucky to be under his guidance. And he had just, I believe, released a paper or done some research into the use of an immunotherapy drug with early stage triple negative breast cancer. Right. So it was being used for late stage, but never early stage before. And I feel timing wise with my diagnosis, I was so incredibly lucky because he was able to push through that I got this immunotherapy drug, and started in January 7th with the immunotherapy drug pembrolizumab, and started on weekly chemos, so 12 weeks of 2 different drugs, carboplatin and paclitaxel.
I had the same.
Which my sister was having at the same time. Wow. So we were on the same chemo, we overlapped for a bit. And you felt it too. Going into a chair every week to have chemotherapy is like having to dig for a strength that you just don't know.
We haven't even mentioned that you did this during lockdown, didn't you?
That is
on
true.
Your own.
So I was diagnosed December 2019, and it's funny. Well, it's not funny at all, actually, but I would go for these weekly chemos starting January 7th, and 1 or 2 were fine, and friends came, and that was fine. And then I started to go each week, and they would ask me questions. Had I been to some countries? And they would list some countries.
Oh, because it's before COVID.
It was before. Wow. And I'd be like, make a joke of it. Like, no, I'm coming here every week. Like, I don't have time to be going off traveling in that time. Like, I'm feeling a bit ropey, and, And then obviously March time was when lockdown fully happened for everyone. So I did 8 of my chemos with friends and with people coming with me, and 8 completely alone. Wow.
I'm glad you got to start it with friends.
I do feel very grateful for that,
because it's so scary, isn't it?
I have friends that got diagnosed in lockdown, and all of their chemos are alone, so they don't know what it's like to have company and
support.
It was a difficult time, I would say. It's never a good time to get a diagnosis, but you're right that I think I've just blocked that part of it out, that it was during lockdown. Everything just was a bit more complex. Having help with our, everyone wants to help with a diagnosis, and that is so lovely, the outpouring of offers to help. And it was just me, my husband, and the kids, and trying to homeschool. Thank goodness they were quite young, so there wasn't that huge a stress in that world. I just did the bare minimum basically, and thankfully they're good.
I'm sure they are.
But it was a difficult time. But on the flip side, there were also, I guess, some positives. Like, I was, you're vulnerable anyway from the chemo, so I was shielding.
I guess you couldn't shield your children. Like, for me, Rudy and Ray were younger, and the days I had chemo, I stayed at my mum's. Obviously, my hair, Rudy and Ray, that was a change. But did you have a conversation with your children about what was happening? Because I guess you couldn't hide it.
Yeah, so exactly, gosh, spot on in that when I first told the kids what was happening, they were 4 and 6, so used very age-appropriate language, but had to tell them that I was going to, have some really strong medicine that was going to make me better. I used a Lego analogy, which I've told a lot of people about since. I was told by a friend, and it was very handy for young children, because I think they can understand that when you say, I described my cells like Lego, and that good cells slot together like Lego pieces, but I had some bad cells. I didn't think I used the word bad actually, but some cells that weren't quite playing ball, and they just weren't slotting together. So I needed the super strong medicine to make my Lego pieces start fitting again and behaving how they should. But the medicine was what was going to make me sick and make me tired potentially, and make me potentially lose my hair. To which my 4-year-old was like, I don't want you to be a baldy head. So, it's hard. It's so hard, which is also what was my kind of instigated me trying the cold cap. And I did cold cap for 16 chemos.
Oh, wow. And look at your hair.
Well, it's back now. I did have to, it lasted for the 12 weeklies amazingly, but when I went on to the 4 ACs, exactly, very strong chemotherapy drug, it just didn't. And I looked very interesting, let's say, by the time all my treatment had finished and I had my surgery. So that was in August. Come September, I did cut like all the stray little straggly bits off and I was never bald, to be honest. Like, my kids never think back and do think like I did lose all my hair. So I guess to that extent it really did work, and I am a big fan of cold capping. I've seen people, some amazing results. I think try it if you can. Same. It's not the easiest thing. Some people really struggle with that. I really struggled with it towards the end.
The coldness.
When I lost my hair, it was hard. But there are great tips, like taking paracetamol, Nurofen half an hour before really helped me. So I feel like I'm talking about a lot of different things right now. But the one thing you did say was, as lockdown happened, my kids did see more than I wanted them to. I tried to schedule my chemos for Tuesdays, the weeklies, because in my head that meant that come Friday I would have energy for them for the weekend. And so for a lot of those weeks that was the case. But once they're being homeschooled, they're there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They're seeing it all. Are there things I wish they hadn't seen? Absolutely. But I have always said grief and gratitude can coexist. And there's got to be space for both. And I think that's what happened during that time. I felt after feeling so rubbish from treatment, when energy did start to return, because I was having my ACs that really knocked me, I was having them every 3 weeks. So I was getting a good window of health where I could be what I wanted to be to my children. And I could enjoy food again, and I did have a bit more energy. And I just think that gratitude I had for my health, which potentially I had completely taken for granted before my diagnosis, it really started to kind of make me practice gratitude daily. I think that was a big changing point in my life throughout my diagnosis. I do a gratitude practice with my friend Nat every single day, and I'm going to share this because it's really simple, and we have been doing it I think for 7 months now. We voice note one another. We heard it on another podcast, so a lady shared this practice and we were like, let's do it together. So you've got to just find somebody that you feel you can be as honest about your dreams and your wishes and everything with. You send each other a voice note every morning about your gratitude, so you're vocally saying what you're grateful for, which I think with any gratitude practice, when you say something out loud, it's got a different energy to it and feel real. To it. It's out there. And then it's a bit of a flip on manifestation. You speak your day as it's already happened. So I have already said we have had an amazing chat and the podcast was incredible. So you speak it already into existence, and we have been doing that for, I would say, 7 months, maybe even 8 months now, every day.
I really love that idea.
The magic that has happened from it has been unreal. Like some of the things that we've said and then they happen like an hour later. So it's
I'm going to
really,
put that into practice.
Really good practice.
I really love that.
Yeah. So, but the gratitude, I have practiced gratitude, but this has been a kind of bit of a spin on gratitude, doing it with someone else, and it's really been amazing.
That's really, really good. I love that idea. Can we please talk about your surgery? Yes. Obviously, when you have the BRCA gene, you are at high risk of getting a new breast cancer. So I had a double mastectomy with reconstruction implants, but you took a different option, and there's a few different ways that you can have surgery. Can you tell us about that, please?
Absolutely. So yes, as my surgeon said when I was diagnosed, because of BRCA, that I likely was going to have, it would look like a radical surgery. And by that, he did mean a double mastectomy, which is removing all of your breast tissue from both breasts. So in August 2020, during lockdown, I decided I was going to have a DIEP flap surgery, which basically is where they reconstruct your double mastectomy using your own tummy tissue.
Yeah.
I really, truly had no idea such a thing existed until I was presented with the fact I needed a surgery, and I met with my surgeon and he talked me through some of the options. I had enough tummy tissue after AC chemo, I gotta say.
And the steroids.
So I decided after so much toing and froing, like I truly was, this was one of my hardest decisions to make during that whole time.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's kind of to do with my children. I was feeling pulled to having the DIEP surgery, but it was a longer operation. Yeah. It was longer time in hospital away from them. And all these things were like, why would I choose that when I can be home back with them and I can recover quicker? And, you know, so something in me was just saying, like, use your own, you've got the tummy tissue, use your own tummy tissue. And so I had this surgery. It was about 10 hours in surgery. They take your tummy tissue and your a blood vessel, and they reattach, they remove all your breast tissue through, so they kind of removed my nipples. Sometimes you can have nipple saving.
I don't know if you remember, but I've seen your boobs.
Yeah, I know you have. I know you have. I do remember. I've shown them to a lot of people. But yeah, we'll get to that too, because that is something that I did not have available to me during lockdown, but I have seen people like yourself and it be so transformative. But yes, so the circular scars where my nipples used to be, and they put the tummy tissue in, and I have these reconstructed breasts that obviously have scars and aren't, you know, don't feel like or look like my old breasts, but they have this really natural feel to them. And I am a big fan of this surgery, and obviously you have seen them because I am a big fan, and I want to show other women who are facing these types of surgeries. So what we do is a show and tell at Future Dreams.
Which is incredible. This is an event that I went to, and it was probably the best thing I did and completely helped me decide which surgery route I wanted to go down.
And that is just, I remember your message after. It's just the most incredible feedback that we get after these events. Yeah. And as I said, it wasn't available to me. I would have given anything to have been in person with someone who had this surgery and asked those questions. I remember speaking to a woman on the phone, and that was invaluable. But these events, you know, you're showing other women, you're kind of upright.
There's about 20 models?
Yeah, so exactly. We get about, anything between maybe 14 to 20 models, depending on who signs up for the event. We get plastic surgeon who comes along and a breast surgeon, and they give a little talk. They
can ask questions.
It's a fully packed event as well. It's like 40 odd people that come along. Exactly, people can ask questions, and then we split everyone up, and you go into the rooms, and
it's honestly
show their
amazing
surgery results.
Yeah, it's amazing. And if anyone is listening to this that has found out they have BRCA or has upcoming surgery and doesn't know which route they want to go down, I would definitely recommend going to one of the BRCA events at Future Dreams House that Carly helps run, because for me it really was invaluable. Seeing all of those women speaking about their experience, their recovery, you know, if they had any complications, seeing the results. I thought I was gonna like go in there and be a bit scared, and that I was gonna get upset, because when you Google double mastectomy, the pictures are not great. But I left there and I was just like, wow, they look amazing. They all looked amazing.
That's the thing. We really want to, well, my whole thing, I think, is to empower people who are going through a diagnosis and having to make these decisions. It's also why I do the work I do with Bloom 43, which is an app that is available that is fully focused on breast surgery as well, and is exactly like, in a way, like the show and complements the show and tell. It's there so that after you've had an appointment with your surgeon and you've been like overwhelmed by information, and you're like, what?
You don't know.
I can't take it all on. We all sit there in bed on our phones, don't we? Having that app, we have got so many resourceful articles, videos. I've done some videos on there, like what to pack.
Oh, that's amazing.
The feedback that we've got already from this app, like I got getting to people, to women, to men who have got surgeries as well, because obviously breast cancer happens with men too, is that you're at the most vulnerable stage. Everything feels overwhelming at that time. So you just need someone to say, pack this. Or this is what it's going to feel like, you know, after surgery. We've got an amazing plastic surgery nurse on there who talks about looking at your scars for the first time after surgery. We've just got a sex and intimacy expert talking about reconnecting with your body after. Like, this is stuff that is so important. This is what we talk about at the BRCA meetups. This stuff is what people need to know. It's the real stuff, and having it in one place. So I feel
What's
passionately.
The app called?
It's called Bloom 43.
Okay, Bloom 43.
And it's free.
So, that sounds incredible. I am having my ovaries out next month as preventative surgery. You obviously took that step as well. And I imagine that was an easier decision for you to make with your sister's diagnosis. When did you have the surgery, and how have you found the side effects? Because that's what I'm really, really scared about.
So firstly, I'll say, you know, I'll be there with my arms to welcome you to the Surgical Menopause Club. It's it's another club that we don't want entry into, but once you're there, you know, there's always amazing people to help you to navigate it all. Now, it was an easy decision in many ways, but I also was quite up for being screened because I potentially did want a third baby before all of this happened. So I was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to see if my periods come back after treatment. Ultimately, I had a screening for my ovaries, and I remember my doctor's receptionist calling and saying he'd like to move your appointment to a day earlier. And I don't know, in the moment I just didn't ask why. I kind of just went, okay, and then I spiraled because the whole day I was like, well, why has he moved it earlier? Oh my gosh, I was a mess for that whole day. Just a mess. I couldn't think. I was like, clearly something's shown up on the bloods or the scan, and so when he called and he was like, oh, they should have just said, no, it was just because I was just rearranging some appointments. Like, no big deal. Oh my goodness. Like, these, you know, you're dealing with very anxious people. I just, that call, I said, do you know what? I'm done. I don't want to have this hanging over me. I don't want to feel like this again. I've got to, you know, I'm so lucky. I had 2 beautiful children. Let's book it in. So January 2020, the oophorectomy, and the surgical menopause has been okay. I have found it okay. I do take a supplement that I think I truly believe helps me. Everyone has to find what works, I think, for them. I think sometimes dietary changes can help too. Breathing exercises for when those hot flashes do come on to kind of, you know,
and are they as frequent as when you were going through chemo? Because my hot flushes were awful. I even had like burst blood vessels all over my cheeks where it was just so intense. And now that they've completely gone, I'm so scared to go back there. But do you feel like they are as bad?
They haven't been, no. And I think at one point they must have been bad, because I do remember taking sage leaf tablets and being allowed to take sage leaf tablets, and that is specifically for hot flushes. So they must have been bad. My memory is a bit hazy, and also I just didn't know what I was feeling from what at certain points, because I was like, chemo, like, you know, medical menopause, you kind of can't differentiate what you're feeling. Because, and I also had COVID during my treatment, so there was a lot going on. But no, they haven't been as bad.
And but obviously you are almost 5 years post triple negative breast cancer diagnosis, which is huge in triple negative breast cancer. How do you feel being 5 years? It's so positive, and hope makes, you know, everyone like me really hopeful. Does it feel different?
I would say that my fear of my breast cancer coming back does not take up a lot of my headspace. That isn't to say it never does. And I think, you know, when life starts to feel overwhelming and lots of things that are going on, I notice it gets a little bit noisier in there. Or, you know, you find something, or then it's as much as I put out a positive, you know, spin on things, very hard to quieten that fear when it's there, when you're presented with something, and around scans and things. However, with time, and you're right that with each year that passes, that fear reduces with triple negative because of what people tell us, right? I remember getting to 2 years and they were like, 2 years is a great milestone. So when I reached that was the first time I bought a balloon. I was like, yes! Really? And I had my 3 balloon, and that was, a great moment. And in my head, as probably everyone with the triple negative diagnosis, we know that 5-year milestone, it just reduces.
It's a lot,
it's never
isn't it?
out of, it's never going to be completely gone, I think. But it's massively reduced, and I've just had that in my mind.
I'm so happy that you've got to
I've got to think of a way to celebrate in February, because it's February time for me.
Oh, that's amazing. And now, obviously, all your work is in breast cancer. Do you sometimes find it hard, doing everything about breast cancer because you see bad things, and sometimes it can be a bit triggering?
Sometimes I want to throw my phone out of the window and just not ever think or talk about breast cancer again, because it is hard at times, for sure.
But the reason...
My favourite person in the world died from it. Like, I've lost so many incredibly close friends to it that I truly think about every single day. And sadly, by being part of this incredible community and doing the work that we both do to advocate, to spread awareness, it comes with this incredibly painful toll of losing people that you love. And we are not medically trained, and I've lost so many people that it almost, sometimes I don't know who to grieve first. It becomes, I think of one friend because something will remind me of them, or think of my mum, and it just is like, it just kind of, what's the word, cascades with going, oh my God, they're not here. Oh my God, they're not here. I have a really strong belief that people are still with us, and I have that, and that does keep me going, but it doesn't take away the grief and the missing, I think, and that can be very, very hard being in this community. And I've lost so many good friends in a short space of time that I almost feel sometimes I'm noticing, am I getting a bit more cautious of getting too close to people? And I don't ever want that to happen, because I truly believe that this life is about connecting with people and loving people. But I think that it's been very hard. So that is the time I do think, maybe I should just go and do something else altogether, where I'm not going to.
No, we need you.
But I am, and I also am really open to talking about death and dying. Because of being friends with so many people who are faced end of life or are facing end of life, I've done a course in end of life doula care. So these are conversations that are important. So I don't want to, but when I feel that happening, I just know I've got to just up my self-care, and sometimes it is okay just to put it all to one side for a bit and just be doing other things as well.
Can we end the podcast on what is a positive that you have taken from your experience and what's happened?
The most hugest positive for me is just, I have so much less anxiety in life because I faced my biggest fear. Like, breast cancer kept me small for so long because I was so scared of it. I didn't think I'd get it at 37, but I was so scared of it. And I think, I know, it doesn't mean bad things aren't going to happen, but I know I've got the inner strength to get through that. And that is my biggest thing to want to let people know. I think people get so scared of what might happen, what might happen bad, and they won't be able to cope, but you will. And so that's my biggest takeaway, is we are all so much stronger than we give ourselves credit for.
So true.